The Dogon tribe from West Africa knew about the star Sirius B way before science was able to prove its existence. Sumerian legend tells of beings from the sky coming to create humans from primitive apes. The universe is huge, like bigger than my panic and my tax return is due huge. So it begs the question, where is everybody? Today we are diving into the possibility of extraterrestrial life, from the teeniest alien microbes to the very real possibility that something or someone has already visited Earth. Judging by the state of things, if they did, I'm not surprised they're keeping a low profile. Let's get a sense of scale here. Our Milky Way galaxy has around 2 to 400 billion stars. In the observable universe, we're talking roughly 2 trillion galaxies. Think of it like this. There are more planets out there than there are grains of sand in all the beaches in the world. But how do we know? Thanks to missions like the Kepler Space Telescope, we've identified thousands of planets beyond our solar system around thousands of stars in the Milky Way. Some of them potentially Earth-like. In fact, Kepler alone found 3,000 confirmed planets. Other missions like TESS and Hubble have pushed that number even higher to nearly 6,000. Here's the crazy part. Out of the estimated 400 billion stars in the Milky Way, we've only looked at a tiny fraction of them. 0.000001125% to be exact. That's Lake Michigan versus all the water on the Earth. During this time, we've located 55 Earth-like planets. If we take that as a basis, there could be around 4.5 to 5 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way alone. Times that by 2 trillion galaxies and the number of Earth-like planets becomes quite staggering. Statistically speaking, the odds of Earth being the only planet where life exists is like rolling a 5 million-sided die and it landing on the one side that says humans only. It's just highly unlikely. This is where the Drake equation steps in. The Drake equation is a way of estimating the number of detectable alien civilizations in our galaxy. Now, it's not perfect, but it is a fun way to think about the factors involved. The equation represents all of the factors that contribute to a habitable world. Star formation, stars with planets, planets that could support life, planets where intelligent life appears, planets where civilizations create detectable signals, the average time those civilizations are around before they go extinct. Each factor becomes a small fraction of the previous, hugely smaller. Just to be clear, this is highly hypothetical, but the numbers entered are hedging on the side of minimal, to say the least. Nonetheless, once those fractionally smaller numbers have been entered in, the estimated number of civilizations detectable in our galaxy right now should be around 15,000. So quite a few. More than the queue at Starbucks on a Friday lunchtime, to be sure. So, if the universe is really old and really big, and life should be everywhere, why don't we see any signs? That's the Fermi paradox in a nutshell. As Enrico Fermi famously said, where is everybody? As already mentioned, the observable universe is old and big, so lots of real estate and plenty of time for development. In theory, life should have spread to every corner of our galaxy by now, and yet we see nothing, not a signal, not a glow, not a sausage. But why? Of course, there are a few possible answers to this paradox. Maybe we're simply early to the party, just one of the first places life got started. But this seems very unlikely considering the time frame involved and the vastness of space available. Maybe civilizations tend to self-destruct, time just filtering them out. This is a genuine consideration for most scientists in the field. I mean, looking at ourselves right now and the current challenges we face, it's not too hard to imagine, right? Or maybe those 15,000 civilizations are just avoiding us, deciding amongst a galactic federation of civilizations that we are simply not ready. Like avoiding that one neighbour who seems friendly enough, but when you get to know them, you realise they're a nutter. We all know the one, right? Then of course there's the dark forest theory, which suggests life is everywhere, but hiding amongst the stars, too scared to show themselves for fear of being attacked or colonised. After all, it is what we have done to less developed civilizations throughout history. Or, more intriguingly, maybe they are here, but they're just keeping quiet, hiding, observing, studying, ordering pizza and watching TikTok as they do. But let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. Within our solar system, there's growing evidence that life could exist beyond Earth, specifically in the form of microbial life. I'll save alien bases on the Moon, Mars, and around the rings of Saturn for another episode. Remarkably, we detected seasonal spikes of methane in the Martian atmosphere. Now that could be geological, pointing to ancient life once having been present. Or it could be microbes doing their thing beneath the Martian surface right now. Methane is generally produced by living things after all. But until NASA carries out serious studies in these areas, it will simply remain an eyebrow-raising anomaly. Beyond Mars, the detection of vast water oceans on moons like Europa and Enceladus excites scientists no end to the potential of primitive life huddled around hydrothermal vents deep within those oceans. Add to this the increasing number count of Earth-like worlds outside of our solar system, and it starts to strongly suggest that it is only a matter of time before we find evidence of life beyond our own little blue bubble. This discovery may just turn out to be mouldy microbes occupying a niche recess or farting bacteria sheltering from the elements. But if we found life in almost any other location than Earth, it would not only be the biggest discovery of all time, but it would also strongly indicate that life is everywhere. Where it can, it will type of thing. Moving beyond microbial life and into the realm of alien visitors, even the official narrative has recently changed tack on that one, albeit mostly unnoticed by the majority of our civilization. With the US government releasing documents and footage pointing heavily to the likelihood we are being visited by intelligences beyond our world, it shows a recent willingness by the US leadership at least to address and speak out about an issue they have flatly denied for decades. I mean, they even hold Senate committees in open debate on declassified alien documents. That's got to mean something, right? Or maybe it's just smoke and mirrors. There are many questions around what these phenomena are, where they are coming from, and why they are here. Not least of all, why we are being told about this right now. Reading between the lines seems a reasonable approach to take. After all, question everything. The official line is still one of unidentified phenomena, but the step towards there is something going on is an encouraging development. Add to this the plethora of whistleblowers who insist not only are we being visited by extraterrestrial intelligences, but our governments have known about them, colluded with them, and have been reverse engineering alien tech since the 1950s, and it creates a culture of acceptance that is, albeit subliminal, happening within our collective consciousness, whether we realize it or not. Maybe the governments of the world are prepping us for a great reveal, or more likely a slow trickle seeping into our awareness, a trickle that slowly accumulates to one day us realizing alien life in our universe is now simply the accepted norm. After all, when have our governments ever felt we can be trusted not to lose our heads at the slightest of revelations? Well, we couldn't do an episode on aliens without mentioning alien abductions, sacre bleu. There are, after all, endless streams of abduction accounts that remain far too frequent to ignore. From famous cases like Betty and Barney Hill incident and the Travis Walton case, to the Pascuala abductions and the Linda Napolitano account, there are so many that it is literally just scratching the surface. Even if only a small fraction of these accounts relate to genuine experiences, then there is something quite remarkable taking place. Something you might think our governments have a duty to openly investigate. To put the actual number of abduction stories into some kind of perspective, in the US alone, if you live in Florida, Oregon, New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Colorado, or Nevada, statistically speaking, there is a 1 in 1,253 chance you are going to be abducted by aliens. Now surely, that's a statistic any population serving government would feel obliged to openly look into. Now, I'm not suggesting that all these reported accounts are true. In fact, I'm pretty certain they are not. Nonetheless, with numbers like these, if only a small fraction are related to some kind of authentic experience, then it becomes a compelling statistic, maybe even quite an unsettling one. Add to this the continued reported UFO or UAP sightings and associated interactions, often describing similar if not the same pattern of events, missing time, medical experiments, the same beings, etc., then the anecdotal evidence on its own becomes quite compelling. The idea that aliens visit Earth and abduct people seems almost embedded in our culture, accepted even. If this is happening, then it begs the question, why? One idea is that our own governments allow this as a trade-off for advanced alien tech. Now, I'm not going down the rabbit hole here, so I'll save these ideas and abduction stories for something to go into in greater depth in a future episode. I've still got some homework to do here. If alien beings are among us, are they just curious? Simply as interested in our hairless monkey species as a human might be interested in the life cycle of a frog? Or are there other factors at work? Do they have an invested interest in our species, how it develops, what it represents? Maybe we are more unique in the universe than we think. Maybe we are more closely related to these visitors than we realize. A good place to start thinking about the possibility of alien life on other worlds might be to think about how life got started here on Earth. Well, there are a few main theories around this. The most recognized hypothesis is that we kicked off our journey toward a higher form of complex life from primordial soup. Through the chemical broth and electrical activity on our early planet, the conditions were potentially just right for the formation of the building blocks of life, from RNA to DNA to organic molecules, etc. This is a standardly accepted theory of how life kicked off on Earth, certainly the one in which my generation were indoctrinated into. Then there's the panspermia hypothesis. This theory postulates that life may have been seeded from space, arriving here from distant worlds or even germinating on the back of comets as they hurtle through space. Wherever it originated, microbial life could have arrived on comets or asteroids early in Earth's history. Of course, this raises the further question, from where? Is it that life is a prerequisite if the conditions prevail? Do the seeds of life come from the destruction of old worlds in far-off distant star systems? If so, the distances and timescales involved are mind-boggling. Despite the seemingly impossible challenges of harsh radiation, extreme fluctuations in temperatures, and the immense timescales involved on a journey such as this, our growing understanding of just how resilient life forms can be has opened scientific eyes toward this actually being possible. Tardigrades and extremophiles being some of these potential interstellar hitchhikers. But even if this is true and life started on our home world after a very drawn-out special delivery system, it must have started somewhere else, right? Yet another question that begs its own episode. Then we have the idea of extraterrestrial intervention. Myths and stories from our own rich and diverse cultures point to this intriguing idea. Myths and stories that also seem to coincide with humanity's sudden leap forward in intelligence. The Great Leap Forward or cognitive revolution that occurred around 70,000 years ago fuels speculation that alien intervention in humanity's development might have taken place. This is evident in cultures and tribes such as the Hopi, Lakota, the Zuni, the Ojibwe, the Inca, the Maya, the Aymara, the Norse mythology, Greek mythology, Australian Aboriginal mythologies. In fact, when you investigate almost any ancient civilization or culture, it soon becomes apparent they often seem to express some original intervention from the stars or star people. Arguably, this could also be said for Christianity as well. Refer to the Book of Enoch on this one. I can see another episode building. After all, our uptake of art, tools, complex behaviour and brain size appears to have come out of nowhere. Evolutionarily speaking, that is. Running on with this idea, there's always ancient aliens. Gotta love a bit of ancient aliens. The Nazca lines, the pyramids, Pumapunka, impossible architecture, remarkably similar descriptions of visitors from the stars from different cultures all around the world. The list is endless and quite compelling when you start to dive into it. Did aliens have a hand in shaping our history, our cultures, our biology? If aliens really were here at the dawn of our civilization to nudge it in the right direction, where did they go? The more information we discover, the more questions seem to arise. In some cases, this goes beyond pure myth and storytelling and into the realms of an understanding beyond ability. An example of this includes the Dogon tribe from West Africa. The Dogon people are known to have possessed knowledge of the star Sirius B way before its astronomical discovery in 1862, hundreds if not thousands of years before. Their knowledge includes details of its orbital period and its composition. How could they have known these details before modern science was even able to confirm the star's existence? This star cannot be seen without powerful telescopes, let alone understanding its orbital timeframes and chemical structure. The Dogon people say in their tribal stories this information was given to them by extraterrestrial beings called the Numos, beings who originated from the Sirius star system, no less. And they knew all of this before the rest of us even thought aliens were a thing. It would be remiss of me not to at least briefly tip my hat toward the Anunnaki from Sumerian legend. The Sumerian civilization from Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, is believed to be the oldest recognized civilization on Earth. A civilization dating back some 7,000 years, no less. It is the Sumerians we have to thank for our modern world. With the rise of the Sumerians came the flipping of our ancestors from small tribes of hunter-gatherers into the modern societal structures we know today. The Sumerians introduced farming, metalwork, canals, city-states, armies, writing, a legal and bureaucratic system, and much more we take for granted, all seemingly from nowhere. Well, I say nowhere, but the oldest known story to man comes from Sumeria, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Within it, amongst other things, a race called the Anunnaki came down from the heavens and hybridized primitive humans to become their slaves, delivering all the above as they did. The Sumerians developed out of these beginnings, so the story goes. Now the Anunnaki were not the ambivalent race they may at first appear to have been. They had an agenda and were often pretty brutal as they ruled over early humans. The Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold, so the story goes. Apparently they needed it to repair the atmosphere of their own world because of some catastrophe of their own making. Starts to sound a little bit familiar here. But after realizing how difficult it was to mine on Earth, the conditions here being much more extreme than on their own world, they went, nah, let's upgrade these ape creatures to do it for us. I mean, if you could, wouldn't you? Add to these stories the impossible stonework and knowledge of many other civilizations from around the world, and a bigger narrative starts to emerge. One that suggests, back in the day, we had assistance. After all, these star beings lorded it over us as gods, not shying away from the privileges and luxury lifestyles that came with a godlike status. Nonetheless, in many cases, it was an assistance to undertake and create things that we still cannot replicate today. While often sidelined and ignored by modern archaeologists and paleontologists alike, this narrative of the ancient past is growing to be one that cannot be easily ignored. Almost, but not quite, the elephant in the room. But what does any of this mean? Whether it's microbes under the ice of Europa, civilizations far beyond our galaxy, or godlike beings who visited Earth long before recorded history, the question, are we alone, might be the most important one we ever answer. Because if we're not alone, then we're part of something much bigger and older than we are, which would result in quite a tectonic shift for our species. And if we are alone, well, that potentially makes us the most important thing in the universe, which is a very disturbing idea for a species that invented TikTok and the Teletubbies. Or more on point, as the famous and brilliant forward-thinking science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke put it, two possibilities exist. Either we are alone in the universe, or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. If aliens have been here, or are still here, what could possibly be their motivation, and what does any of this have to do with Gnosticism? Believe me, when attempting to answer this one in a future episode, it will take me way down the rabbit hole. I hope you'll join me in that one. In the meantime, click here for time travel horrors, or here for a deep dive into infinity before they do. Thank you for joining me on this brief excursion into the limitless potentiality of alien life. Do you think we are alone in the universe, or just waiting to be accepted into a wider galactic community? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's early days for me in this one-man show I call Max Questions Everything. Your support in helping this channel grow is genuinely valued and most definitely appreciated, so thank you. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to see more, then please consider hitting the like button. If you would like to be kept informed of new episodes as they are released, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I look forward to seeing you again soon as we continue on our adventures into the unknown, the unsettling, and the utterly bizarre. In the meantime, question everything.